Welcome to Active Living at the Active Life. I'm Dan Wooten, your monthly host to a television program that helps empower older adults with relevant information. And so we're excited today. We have with us Sergeant Stewart Smith from the Troup County Sheriff's Office, and he normally comes to the Active Life on a regular basis to equip our older adults about various safety issues, but we've called him here today to talk about cons in online shopping and how important that is to be equipped with information to protect ourselves from all types of fraud that is taking place around us. Stewart, thank you for being here today.
Appreciate it, Dan.
You come to the Active Life on a regular basis, helping our older adults to understand different types of crime that could impact their life. And we're often, almost every time you bring up con artists and fraud that's taking place, and it seems like each time there's different schemes that these con artists have. And so first of all, I'd like to just ask a question. How much fraud takes place and what kind of economic impact does it have?
You know, I think you and I discussed this earlier, and when you look at it online, nationally and even globally, it's in the millions of billions of dollars that people are able to con from not just older adults, but any vulnerable person. And even us as law enforcement, public safety people, we get these phone calls as well. And they are getting so sophisticated with it that they will use local numbers, like here it will be the 706 area code. They will use those local numbers in hopes that somebody will see that number pop up on their phone and it not be from like New York or Canada or somewhere and say, hey, that's a local number. I don't know who's calling me, but let me answer it just to see if that person needs something. And when they do, once you answer that phone, then they've got you hooked. And then they just start the conversation with, hey, you know, this is whoever from, let's say, the Internal Revenue Service or the Revenue Department. And then that's when they start getting into the depths of the con and what they want to talk about.
So you're saying you can look at your caller ID, you cannot trust it.
Absolutely.
So it could be from anywhere in the world. Is that correct?
It could be, because what they're doing is, it's a term called spoofing, where they're getting these local numbers, and it may even be like as far as like a 706 594 or 302 or an 883 or whatever number that person knows is a local number, and they're going to answer it. You know, a lot of people, especially this older generation, they want to answer the phone. They don't want to be rude. They don't want to send it to voicemail or something. They want to answer the phone because they like talking to people. And so that's the first way they're getting in. Or they may change that caller ID, or it may come up Internal Revenue Service or Troup County Government or something. And so that's the first way they're getting them in the door, per se.
So let's talk about some of the most common cons going on. And before that, it seems to me, is it true that older adults are regularly targeted for these cons?
I would say so, because they know they're vulnerable, number one, because they do like to answer the phone and talk to people. And a lot of times this older adults, they're into retirement, they are into the Social Security. A lot of them may have made a wealthy investment over time, and so they target them because they think they may have financial gain from it, that these people, if they say, hey, we need you to give us this amount of money to, let's say, close out a debt, or you owe taxes or something, or you owe a court fine, they know these people may have the financial ability to do that, and so they're going to target them and reel them in. And so a lot of these people get scared because they know in their mind they don't owe taxes, they don't owe a court fine, they haven't missed jury duty, but somewhere they're thinking, well, what if I did? And let me just pay this $5,000 to get out of that. And so that's what happens a lot of times.
Catch them by surprise, hoping they're going to react before they think. Well, let's before we look at how they can protect themselves, let's first list some of those cons. You mentioned the IRS and some others. What's going to happen?
Common ones, and they come around different times of the year. You know, a lot of times in April, May, we may see the IRS scams where it's tax time, tax season, where somebody may call you from the Internal Revenue Service, or one actually called me. They were from the Internal Revenue Department. Well, that was a clue for me. And me being in this line of work, I kept them on the phone just for a little bit to talk to them. I didn't identify myself. I just wanted to see how they're selling themselves, you know. and they will tell them that their Social Security number has been compromised. They will tell them that they do owe back taxes from years ago. And they tell them, hey, we can get this squared away over the phone if you just give me your bank account information or you give me a credit card information. And unfortunately, sometimes a lot of these people do that. That's one. A lot of times there's one called a grandparent scam, where the person will get a phone call from someone and that person will identify themselves as that person's grandchild. And they do all this over the internet. They find these people's names on the internet. They can do like an ancestry look or something and pop it up. Or they may find an old obituary from somebody and list all those names in there. And they'll give that person's name and they'll say that they're in jail and they need money to help get out of jail. And what's a grandparent going to do? They're going to help their grandchild out. And so they'll give them money over the phone. That's one. Government impersonations, people acting like they are from the sheriff's office or the local police department or something, call and tell them they've missed jury duty and there's a warrant for their arrest, but they can take care of that warrant over the phone if they pay a fee. Well, number one, the sheriff's office, we don't call people and tell them that there's a warrant for their arrest. We come to their door.
You don't announce. Don't give them a chance to run if they're really going to be arrested. We come to the door and inform them that there's a warrant for their arrest. Or miss jury duty. There's going to be a summons that comes to your house that you missed jury duty. And so it's just certain things. Those are the ones that we see a lot of that they fall for. Or a lot of times they may call them and say they won the lottery or they won a sweepstakes. They won $10,000, okay? Well, if you win that type money, number one, you got to play the lottery to win it, okay? But a lot of people fall for those things and they'll tell them you won this amount of money, but we need a certain amount of money from you to transmit that money to you. And it could be, we need $500, we need $1,000 to send you your $10,000. Well, a good easy response would be, hey, just send me my money and then I'll send you that money back, It's funny we think that, but a lot of that elder population, they don't think about that stuff. They're thinking, wow, I won some money, I can help my family out with this. Yes.
So those are the common ones that we see a lot of.
So they can be conned, you're talking about a lot through telephone, but email, letters, and even some in person.
A lot of times, especially online, like through emails, you may get an email from somebody that you don't recognize the name. Well, first off, if you get an email from somebody and you don't recognize the name, don't open the email.
Okay.
If you do open the email and there's a link attached to it, it's normally that word or phrase that's underlined or in blue or something where you can click on it. Don't click on any links from an email that you don't know who it's from. Because if you click on that link, it's going to open up another link or something that could give them access to your computer and everything in your computer. Or you click on that link and it may ask you for some more personal information, okay? You may get an email that looks like it's from your bank and they want you to click on something. A lot of times, if you get an email, you can just take your mouse and hover over that email address and it's going to pop up a long email address. If it's an email address that you can't even read, don't open it, delete it. And I know we get emails as government employees from our IT department. They even try to do those things. They warn you, if you get an email from somebody, don't open it. Just delete it.
Okay.
That's one thing. Again, phone calls that you don't recognize, emails you don't recognize. If you get a phone call from your financial institution saying something's been compromised, just be polite and say, hey, would you mind if I call you back? And then call that number that you normally call the bank to verify.
Look it up and be sure you're actually calling the bank, not the number you see they called.
Right.
Wow. So I guess moving to prevention, what are some clues that can tip you off that you're being involved in a con, and then how can we prevent? How can a person protect themselves against these cons?
Number one, those phone calls you get that you don't recognize where they're from. Emails you get, you don't recognize where they're from. A lot of times they're not going to go face-to-face. They're going to do it over the phone. Now, there have been those occasions where people will go face-to-face and try to sell you something, try to pave your driveway, and they want money down for that. Well, you're going to pay them that money, they're never going to show up. Or to do yard work, and they never show up. Don't pay anything completely all the way unless you know who you're dealing with, unless a reputable person, call and get references. Ask the person.
That's very wise.
Ask the person if they want to do business with you. Hey, give me 3 references to call. Now they could be scheming you too.
Right.
But call around to your neighbors. Call around to maybe City Hall or something.
Right.
Hey, have you heard of this business?
Right.
Wow. That's just some quick tips.
That's great. So you could call local officials. You could get the chamber and different places that would know about local businesses.
Yeah.
So go back to the telephone. I understand now there are screening services that you can have on your phone where if the person's number is not in your contacts, that it won't even let you go through. It'll require you to do a recording and tell them who you are.
I think so. I think there's so many apps out there that you can get, which a lot of people now have gone strictly to cell phones. There's not many landlines out there. I think the older generation still has a lot of those. But there's so many apps out there. The main thing is caller ID.
Okay.
Again, if they're not one of your contacts, how'd they get your number? Okay, did somebody share it? Or if you do want to take that phone call and you don't know who it is, just hang up on them.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to send somebody to voicemail.
Wow.
So my rule is if somebody calls my phone, I don't know who they are, and it goes to voicemail, if it's important, they'll leave me a voicemail.
Okay, yeah, that's great. I think with older adults especially, better not to answer and let it go to your recorder or your voicemail.
Correct.
Here's a technical question. I don't know if you can answer this, but can they spoof somebody that you know? Would it look like the number?
Yes,
okay.
As a matter of fact, somebody spoofed my phone, and they just get these things randomly. They spoofed, I think it was my work phone number, and that number called my personal cell phone number. Well, my work phone was sitting right beside me, so I knew it wasn't calling me. So yes, they will spoof numbers that you may know or may not know. So yes, it happened. And then a lot of times, you'll get phone calls from people, and you may answer the phone, and they'll say, "Hey, did you just call me?" Well, no, you didn't, but your number called them.
Okay.
Now,
one thing you were talking about, the cons that seemed familiar, it seems like they're wanting you to react or act quickly. They don't give you chance, they would discourage you from checking up on them or calling them back. They want to threaten you.
They're using those scare tactics is what they're getting them. They want to scare them, they want to get a reaction out of them, and if they can scare them into it, then they may get something out of it.
Okay, well, I think if people would just stop and try to stop themselves from reacting and to understand that they do not have to act immediately on those things, or they can, but they need to hang up and deal with others. They can call the sheriff's office or their local police department.
We
and
will be
get
glad
them
if
involved.
you get a suspicious phone call. We will be glad to work you through those processes of prevention, other than us getting that phone call that you've been scammed out of hundreds of thousands of dollars, because it is very hard and almost impossible for us to recover that money.
Wow, boy, that is scary. Let's talk about a certain group of older adults, and that is our most vulnerable older adults that may be beginning early stages of memory issues, and family members that would like to help protect them. Any suggestions that you would have, Stewart, on something that could be done to protect your loved ones from these type of cons?
If they are in the altered mental status or diminished capacity or whatever, and they're not really remembering a lot of things, have that caregiver take away their ability to get online for like financial stuff. If they want to get on, or email.
Okay.
If they want to get on Google and look up things, something that they enjoy doing, allow them to do that. But take away the ability for them to get into their financial information, banking information, credit card information, change their passwords, talk to the bank about it, and just don't let them have the ability, if they get scammed on one of these things, to give them the credit card information, to give them the banking information. It may be hard, but take that information away from them so they're not caught up in one of these scams.
It's just one thing, Stewart, is so difficult about that is that people look at those as part of their independence.
Oh, yeah, and absolutely.
Just like being able to drive a car.
Sure.
It's like, they probably shouldn't do it, but they don't want to give it up because it's part of their freedom. So wanted to also move into online shopping because more and more of our older adults go online, and it seems more and more. I read an article recently how sophisticated the con artists online are setting up total websites that look legitimate, that you can click on links, and they have great prices and all to con you out. Let's talk about safety of online shopping and what your advice would be in that area.
I think it can be summed up by only shop on reputable websites that you are very, very familiar with. And I don't want to name a whole lot of them out there, but those common shopping sites that you are very familiar with. And yes, there are so many places to shop from online. I think it's endless now. But just be very careful. And I believe when you shop online, there is an ability to check the security of that website. I think there's an encryption thing that you could check on that website. But just be very, very careful and use only reputable online shopping things that you can go to. Again, there are so many of them out there. There's people selling everything online. But just be very, very careful who you're giving that financial information to.
I was in the market several months ago for a work chest, a tool chest, and looked online and found this website that had most incredible prices. And I looked at it and I scanned through, and they had a catalog of it, but unbelievable prices. So, you know, that tipped me off, and I tried to do research online, but it just amazed me at the sophistication that these, I mean, that they probably spent hours and hours developing this website to look legitimate so that somebody would fall for it.
And that goes back to the emails. A lot of times you will get an email from something that looks legitimate. You know, it may say it's from Amazon or something, but it may have, you know, a different link attached to it. So just be very, very careful online.
Okay. And I heard this suggestion too. So credit cards are safer than debit cards, right? As far as getting your money back, if you use online shopping, to be sure you use a credit card rather than your checking account.
I would say at least with a credit card, it's not linked to a bank account where they can just keep drawing that money. One thing you can do a lot of times is if you've got a bank card, like a debit card, and you make purchases with it, you can choose to make a purchase with that as a credit card. You know, I think that's the way a lot of people like for you to do it. But anytime you open yourself up to giving out that personal financial information, you open it up to any possibilities out there.
Okay. Any other tips on online shopping to prevent fraud during this time?
No, I think we've covered a lot of it. Again, if you don't know who you're dealing with, you know, then be very, very cautious. You know, call us at the sheriff's office. We'll, you know, we may not be able to know exactly who the person you're dealing with, but we can walk you through the processes of staying safe, especially during this holiday season.
Now, in the holiday season, people are shopping and they're going in person to shop. And I want us to move into some tips of safety, like they're going at night shopping, what's some things you need to be aware of. And then also after that, let's talk about if they go out of town. But let's first look at going shopping at night or even in the daytime. What are some hazards that they may encounter in ways that they could protect themselves from?
If you're shopping in person, which a lot of people still enjoy doing, lock your car when you get out of it, okay? Because we have so many entering auto cases in the county and cities, and 99% of these victims told us that they left their car unlocked.
Wow.
They're leaving cash in their cars, they're leaving electronics in their cars, they're leaving firearms in their cars, and they're leaving them unlocked. Because a lot of people think, well, I'm in my driveway's safe. Well, no, because these people target unlocked cars. Gone are the days where they're busting out windows and picking locks. Especially if you're shopping, lock your car wherever you're shopping at. When you make your purchases, put them in the trunk. Or if you don't have a trunk, cover them up, conceal them, but lock them. Make it hard for these.
Smart.
Make it hard for these people to get what they're looking for.
Okay, so they walking through a parking lot trying to make a choice. You're saying not by keeping those items hidden, at least put in the trunk.
Right.
They're going to look for something that they find interesting in another car, so they would bypass you.
That's right.
Very wise advice.
Cover those up. If you're traveling out of town, okay, and you're going to be gone for any extended period of time, if you live in the county or the cities, they will do a thing called a security check. You can call us at the sheriff's office or the police department and tell us you're going to be out of town, and we're just going to ask you your name, your address, how long you're going to be out of town, and some other stuff about your house. And we will check on your house while you're gone. It could be once a day or twice a day, depending on call volume. Now, obviously, we're not going to feed your animals or water your plants or something while you're gone, but we would rather do that than you come home and your house has been burglarized. So that's a service we provide. It's something that our deputies do when they're in the area, that they'll check on that house. Tell a trusted neighbor that you're going out of town. If you've got a sketchy neighbor, don't tell them they're going out of town.
Oh.
You know, don't put your vacation plans online.
Oh, that's great advice.
Don't be in public don't be at the beauty shop getting your hair did and, you know, you're telling the person cutting your hair that you're fixing to leave.
Going on this 10-day incredible vacation.
Yeah. Wait and share that stuff when you get home. Because people love putting their vacation pictures on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram.
I've noticed that. So while they're on the trip, they're posting it, and that's just announcing we're out of town.
They are. They're giving everybody a day-by-day play of what you're doing. And if people know you're out of town while you're updating them, then they're going to take advantage of that. Wait and just do a big photo dump when you get home and just tell everybody what a good time you have with the grandkids. You can set timers. Lock your doors. If you've got an alarm, set your alarm. If you've got motion cameras, make sure those are working. But those are just some easy steps that you can take just to take care of yourself, because, you know, especially now, a lot of people travel during the holidays. They may leave gifts at their home. They may leave their doors unlocked for some unknown reason. If you've got packages coming, put those package deliveries on hold, because you don't want 10 or 12 boxes stacked up outside your door for 3 or 4 days, because what's that tell somebody? That you're gone. You know, put those package deliveries on hold. Or for us, we've got some good neighbors, and you know, if we've got packages coming, we'll work things out with them. Hey, this got delivered today. Can you go pick it up for us?
Oh, that's,
you know,
that's excellent.
Work that type of stuff out. So just those easy tips that you can take to.
So how common are the porch pirates in our community?
They're common. We had a case last week of one, and he was caught on like a Ring camera doing it. We're trying to identify him.
Okay.
But people will do that. And a lot of times they'll do it if they see that package sitting there for an extended time.
Okay. So that's just
a lot of times they're not going to do it right when it's dropped off, because they
Okay.
don't know if somebody's home. But if they see it there for a little bit of time, or if it's sitting there during the night, they're going to go take advantage of that.
Because I heard on the news, and I don't think it's in our community, that some of these thieves will follow the Amazon vehicle.
That could be true, yeah.
And then they see it dropped off, and they've got a window of opportunity to get right away before anybody has a chance to identify that.
Who knows these days?
Oh,
you know.
I know. It seems like the
nothing surprises us lately.
These criminals put so much thought into separating you for your hard-earned money.
Right.
One last question, Stewart. How common are women getting their purses snatched while they're shopping? Is that going on still in our community?
I don't think that happens a lot. We don't hear about a lot of it. But one thing I do see, and even people I'm very close to, they will be walking through a shopping area with their purse on their shoulder, and it is not closed. Everything in that purse is exposed, and it could be their wallet exposed, could be their cash exposed, could be a firearm exposed. If you're carrying that, zip it up and put it tight on you. Put the strap on and put it under your arm, and just hold on to it tight. You know,
Smart.
And don't walk around with a big wad of cash. You know, hide that stuff too. But just secure those things. And again, if you're going to get out real quick and leave your purse in your car, lock the car, hide the purse. You know, it's real simple. Just to put it in the back seat or in the floorboard. Just hide it somewhere.
Wow. Well, thank you
Yes,
for all that you and the Sheriff's Office does to protect our older adults and come and educate them. Thank you for your time
Absolutely.
today.
Thank you.
I hope you've learned a little bit to keep yourself safe during the holidays. We want you to not fall prey to these cons, and please take Sergeant Smith's advice and call law enforcement if you suspect anything. That they would enjoy being able to talk with you and help prevent theft or fraud ahead of time, rather than coming to take the report from you that you've lost your money.
Right.
I hope you have a wonderful week and a wonderful holiday. Goodbye.
Have a Merry Christmas.